Talking F1 with Steve, Neil and the Gov.
Good evening. Hello, Neil.
Hello there.
Are you right?
Not too shabby.
Good. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the first Talking F1 of 2023. It's been a long time, it feels like, since we've done a show. So happy New Year to everyone watching, of course. We hope you all had a wonderful New Year, a wonderful festive period, even though that feels like an absolute lifetime ago. January just seems to be dragging on. It's cold, it's miserable, but things never stop in the world of Formula One, and there are lots of things to discuss. But before we go on to that, did you have a good festive period, Neil?
Yeah, very good.
Good.
The other half got us some good presents.
Oh, lovely. That's what we like.
How about you?
Yeah, very good. Best present I got this Christmas, the Lego McLaren F1,
Excellent.
which is awesome.
Have you made it yet?
Yes, yeah. It took me just under a week to build it in a few separate sessions, but it was frustrating, but it was enjoyable at the same time. So that's now built. It's sitting on the floor just down there because I've got nowhere for it to go because it's bloody huge. I'm thinking about wall mounting it about here, but yeah, we'll see. But there we go. Evening, Mike Baker. Welcome back in. It's great to be back. It's great to have you back with us as well. So I don't even know where we start. There's been so much news in the world of Formula One recently. I think the biggest thing has been the we usually get a silly season every year, don't we, with all the drivers. One driver will kick it off. I think this previous season it was Daniel Ricciardo who announced he was stepping away from the sport for a period, maybe for full time. Who knows? But this winter we didn't really have a driver silly season. We had a team principal silly season, it would appear, with a great amount of teams changing team principals.
Yeah, there was Ferrari getting their new team principal and Seidel leaving McLaren, in which I was disappointed about, but there's been some good things said about who's taken his place.
Yeah, I've got the list just to the left. It's been quite extensive, I think. Ferrari kicked it off, didn't they? Mattia Binotto, they announced, despite giving him the dreaded vote of confidence, and that saying all these rumours about him resigning or being fired were false and fabricated. He announced his resignation, but was it that, or was he pushed?
To me, it always felt like he jumped before he was pushed.
Yeah, it's been, he's given it his best shot. You know, he's never really struck me as a sort of team leader. This news feels strange talking about it now. It's so long ago it happened, but he never struck me as a team leader. Obviously in charge of the most prestigious team on the grid. He steps aside. That obviously left a vacancy at Ferrari, and the biggest name to be rumoured to be filling that seat was Fred Vasseur from Alfa Romeo Sauber. That was confirmed. So Frederic Vasseur takes over the reins at Sauber. He is a Charles Leclerc fan. He's worked with Charles at Alfa Romeo and in junior categories as well, I believe. So if I was Charles, I'd be feeling pretty happy about my new boss. I don't know about Carlos, but
no, I've seen some things pre-season is training, like a lot of them are, and he's trying to put himself in a good place so he can have a nice stable season. He's going to need it.
He is, yeah. So that left Alfa Romeo without a team principal. They still don't have a team principal because Andreas Seidel has gone to Alfa Romeo. Evening, Jeremy. Welcome in, by the way. Great to see you as well. He has gone to Alfa Romeo to be I think he's the CEO, I believe, but he's not the team principal. So Alfa, who are going to become Audi from 2026, of course. Obviously, Andreas Seidel with one eye on that. They're still without a team principal. That, of course, another chain that left McLaren without a team principal. So they've gone for Andrea Stella. They've promoted from within, I think, with that one, haven't they? Because Stella has been with the team for a little while.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a promotion for him, but I think he was working closely with Seidel anyway, so it's supposed to be a good man for the role.
I think he'll be all right. He's been in Formula One for a long time. He knows the reins. He knows the job. He knows what to do. I think he'll be good for them. This is a team that's they're on an upward trajectory, certainly after the struggles of the ill-fated Honda era. and the return to Renault, they're on an upward scale again. So he could be the right man to lead them. They were 5th, I think, last year, weren't they? Because I think Alpine got it in the end. But I think it could be a good season for McLaren. Stella seems like a good guy for the role. They're obviously confident in him if he's worked closely with Andreas Seidel, that he will do the job. So it could be a good season for McLaren, I feel. Obviously, we've got Oscar Piastri taking the vacated seat by Daniel Ricciardo. So one of the probably more highly rated rookies, one of the more highly anticipated rookies, taking that second seat at McLaren. I'm intrigued to see how he'll do.
I hope he hits the ground running like Lewis did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, last time we saw last time we saw a rookie in a McLaren. We've seen loads since Lewis, haven't we?
Yeah.
Magnussen. Yeah, never mind. That was going to be an awful point. But, rookies in McLaren seem to do quite well, it seems, unless you... Actually, no, even Magnussen finished on the podium in his first race, so never mind that either. Anyway, so McLaren's team principal role was filled. Mike Crack stays at Aston Martin. It's a name I try to keep a straight face while saying. Franz Tost stays at AlphaTauri. Gunther Steiner, of course, he's staying at Haas. He's not going to go anywhere else, is he? Otmar Schaffnauer will stay at Alpine. Christian Horner at Red Bull, of course, Toto Wolff at Mercedes. But the most recent and one of the more surprising changes was Williams. With Jost Capito stepping down and taking FX de Maison with him at Williams, leaving a vacated team principal role there, which was, I don't know about you, obviously being a McLaren fan, but as a Williams fan, it was very, very surprising because although 2022 was disappointing for the team, I thought Capito was a good guy, but obviously it sounds like Doralton felt he wasn't the man for the job.
I can't fully claim to know the ins and outs of what's going on at Williams, but I've heard a few things, and there's obviously been rumours that Doralton have put a fair budget in which you have to be part of Formula One. If you're not willing to do at least what they've done, you're too small, to be part of F1. But they could be potentially looking for a way out. They've waved away claims that Porsche are trying to buy them. How many times have you heard, oh, no, and then it happens? But
yeah,
we'll see.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Capito, he wasn't supposed to be the guy that, there was supposed to be numerous times where he was pulling in one direction, and I don't think within the group they agreed. No,
I've heard, obviously what you hear and what is true, but I've heard rumours that, he was pulling one way, the team, or Doralton pulling the other. There was a bit of a divide at the factory between Capito and the team. Who knows? This is a chap. I mean, Capito, he's older than I thought. He delayed his retirement to take the reins at Williams. He's been there only for a couple of years, and that left obviously a pretty sizable vacancy at a team that is looking at getting their way back up the grid and trying to reclaim past glories and become more successful again. And
it'd be intriguing to know what the guys within the team disagreed with. Do you think car's not performing well? They're not really peaking at anything that you could. Like McLaren have recently increased the quality of their pit stops. You think all these minor things you could try and have a little cheer about, they're not really anywhere at anything.
No, that's it. It's okay. So they do good pit stops. Williams are very good at doing quick pit stops, but that doesn't really help when you're running down an 18th place, does it? The car was quick in a straight line. We saw that in Monza with De Vries, but apart from that, the car was terrible at every track it was on. It was only by some very, very good driving by Alex Albon that they got points, in races like Australia, and obviously with De Vries in Monza as well. Latifi was anonymous for 22 races, apart from that 1 points finish in Japan. But yeah, where this supposed void came from and what was going on behind the scenes, but they it took them a while because there were a lot of rumours out there as to who they would get to replace Capito. Jenson Button was rumoured, and Susie Wolf.
As much as I like Jensen or Susie, she's all right, but I can't see either of those particularly quite being up to the task.
No, if Jensen got it, it would be me very much viewing it through sort of rose-tinted glasses. My favourite driver, my favourite team, but he wouldn't have been able to sort of kick that team into where it needs to go. But they've got a team principal finally after a good long while, who comes with a lot of promise. Oh, there, my mic's gone. 2 seconds.
We can still hear you, but you're.
There we go. I found a shortcut. There we go.
Your microphone still worked.
Oh, okay. Well, at least my microphone still works. So for any audio listeners, then nothing happened. And just ignore that.
Edit that bit.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll do it live. James Vowles has been hired to replace Jost Capito, formerly of Mercedes. Not exactly inexperienced. He's been with Mercedes under various guises for 20 years. Mercedes, he was there through the tricky times. He was there through the Brawn GP times. He was there through... what were they before they were Brawn? They were Honda, weren't they?
Yeah.
And he was there through BAR as well. So he's been there since the team's inception, virtually, under various roles. So he was a strategist. He knows he's the one who's made the infamous call of Valtteri, it's James, to enable Valtteri to move over to let Lewis take one of his wins. But it's a good appointment for Williams, I feel.
He was high up. So the team or the drivers knew as soon as he came on the radio, if they disagreed with him, there was only one other man that they were getting.
Yeah, and that's going to be Angry Toto, and you don't want Angry Toto.
I agree. He can't be bad for Williams.
He's a good...
I know he's been compared to, was it Paddy Lowe that made the move? But as it's been mentioned in other things, the movement has been slightly different to that. This one hasn't been a push. He's chosen to, and they're disappointed for him to be leaving.
Yeah, and he's been sort of viewed as Toto's protege, really. So Toto has only good things to say about him, which is a huge confidence builder, I'm sure, for the team, for James Vowles as well, and for a Williams fan. I don't know, any Williams fans, how are you feeling about it? But I'm really happy with it. I think it's fantastic. It's an ideal opportunity for him because he wants to be a team principal. He's not going to get that at Mercedes, certainly for the foreseeable future, with Toto at the helm. And I think James is a very good appointment, and he's looking to obviously to take this team up. I think he's going to be the kind of guy that doesn't beat around the bush and drags the team up by the scruff of its neck, really. And I'm really pleased. I'm very, very excited to see how this season works out.
I just hope that the team don't fight him too much and they can design a good car.
I was listening to another podcast, and they were saying that one of the main issues with the team is that they spend a lot of time living in the past, which and sort of dwelling on their history, because obviously, one of the most successful teams on the grid. And maybe that's where they're going a little bit wrong, and they need to realise that we're not the Williams of old. We're not this dominant force. We are the slowest car. We need to sort of buckle down, knock heads together, and sort it out, basically. But we'll see. Fingers
they
crossed.
haven't been the old Williams for years now, have they?
A long time. Right, so moving over to the comment section, we've got a few coming in. Metal Jace with £2 there. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. Great to see you back in as well. A few comments from Jeremy. I will start with the easiest question, the shortest one to answer. My tipple, it is a beer called Trooper, which was a cooperation between Iron Maiden and Robinson's Brewery. Very, very nice beer. If you like your beers, try it. It's very, very nice. I have to like it as a Maiden fan, but it's just the law. But it's actually a very, very nice beer. How do you two think Hamilton... Oh, it's a comment there from Mike as well. Yeah, you can see it coming for Binotto. Far too many mistakes by last season. Yes, absolutely. In terms of team making errors, drivers making error. And it's going to fall on the team principal's head, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
The amount of strategy errors last season, there was no avoiding it, really.
as the team principal of Ferrari, it's just the way it works.
But yeah, Mike, no, Jeremy, how do you two think Hamilton will do this season? How do you think Hamilton will do? He's coming back from a tricky year, the only year in his career where he's not won a race or scored a pole position.
I believe that Mercedes are going to right a few of the wrongs of last year, so that will only make them stronger. Whether it will bring them close enough to Red Bull, who I also think will do strides, so I think they'll still be top. And if Ferrari improve the reliability of their engine, then they can get the 50 horsepower back that they had early on in the season that kept igniting their engines. But yeah, if they get that back, they'll be in the fight again.
It's going to be good, isn't it? It's
yeah. But as far as this question goes, I think Hamilton's over his feelings of the loss of the way it worked that other season, and he's had a nice little season of last. I know people on the internet just want to tear him to bits, say he's past it, and say how much Russell has outperformed him, and Russell hasn't learned anything off him because he's useless. It's all just nonsense. He's still the main man in that team, and all of his efforts he did early on in the season to improve them, I think to them people that I just spoke of has gone unnoticed, or they just don't care. I think he'll just come out and he'll be good.
Yeah.
I think most of the time, sorry to keep talking, but
no, go for it.
I think mostly with him it's where his head's at. You have moments where he just disappears, and then another time no one can touch him, and it just depends purely on where he's at.
I don't want to describe him as mentally fragile, because I don't think he is, but he's always let these sort of little mental gremlins get on top of him over the years. We've seen that all throughout his career. And obviously, we're not going to keep harking back to Abu Dhabi 2021, because that was a long time ago now, but that obviously would have been playing heavily on his mind through 2022, certainly the early part of 22. And then you get to the first race of the season, and as Jeremy says it there, he thought the car was on kangaroo juice, because the car was porpoising that badly and the car was that off the pace. Lewis sacrificed the early part of his season doing these experimental setups and these experimental parts. We saw him go out in Q1 in Saudi Arabia, which is just unheard of. And Russell had the upper hand, because Russell's been Mr. Consistent, and he was top 5 in most of the races this year. But then we saw glimpses of the Hamilton that we know well, and he got a string of successive podiums, and he was getting more out of that car really than what we thought. It was George who got the team's only pole position and only win of the season, which was surprising, I think, for a lot of people. But Hamilton will have
it was slightly created by himself. With his,
yes, yeah, the good driving with Verstappen as well, which but it's amazing how Hamilton and Verstappen change driving styles when they're against each other. But anyway, I think Hamilton would have used that as fuel, for 2023. And if Mercedes can deliver a car which is capable of fighting Red Bull, and if Ferrari have got their heads together and got the car together that is reliable and quick, we could see 3 teams in the fight for this championship. And I'm absolutely loving that, because start of last year we had 2 teams. You had the Ferrari, then you had Red Bull, and then Ferrari fell apart, Red Bull got it sorted, and then it was just Red Bull all the way to the end of the season. And as much as I like Verstappen, I was disappointed that I'm a bigger Leclerc fan, so I'm disappointed that Leclerc was out of it and Ferrari were off it. So it'd be great to see 3 teams in the points in the fight, for this championship. F1 needs as many teams.
It was crazy how Ferrari just went from being potentially front runners to falling to bits.
It was so painful. Any Ferrari fans in the chat, I sympathise, because I'm a Williams fan, so I get ecstatic over finishing 10th, for God's sake. But for Ferrari, you've finally seen your team fighting for a championship, and the car is fast but fragile, and then it goes off the pace, and it's more reliable, but it's just slow, especially in race pace. Qualifying, Charles Leclerc was insane. But in the race, it just drops off, especially Belgium. Hamilton was on another level. Comment from Metal James. Russell got 35 more points than Hamilton last season. He did, yes. And despite that run of Hamilton podiums, Russell's consistency was incredible last year. He settled into that team with ease. He spent 3 years in a Williams, not being able to do too much. And now he's found himself in a very successful team going through a tricky period.
I tend to think that Hamilton fell into a little bit of the Schumacher situation where they both had a slow start to the season points-wise. And you think that's when Magnussen and George made the most of it.
Yeah.
You think if that hadn't have happened, it would have been a lot closer, because George, second half of the season, I think after the summer break, he wasn't the same. I know he got his win, but he had a few poor performances and things, and I think Hamilton at that point had got back to what we knew him to be.
Yeah, it was. I don't want to say polar opposite with George, because he was obviously very successful the opening part of the season, and then the second half, a couple of questionable races. When he punted Carlos Sainz out in America and defending or fighting with Schumacher in Singapore, but yeah, Hamilton has historically been strong, very, very strong in the second half of a season, and he was again. I think he got his head sorted. The car was getting there. But yeah, the early part of the season, when Red Bull were having their reliability issues and Ferrari were running away with it, that was Mercedes' chance to be second fastest, but they were still struggling with that. And you had some surprising results up there. Like I say, Magnussen got that P5 in the season opener, which was just incredible. What a return for him. But I think next year, Mercedes are going to be certainly a lot closer to the top two than they were this year. Sort of up there in the mix for race wins regularly. You're going to see George with a year of experience at Mercedes under his belt. You're going to see Hamilton sort of maybe with a clear head and a better mentality, maybe in a better car. So 2023, I think, is going to be an incredible season.
You have to wonder whether this season, what situation George will be at mentally, and having the win under his belt, having a season of confidence that he's had, whether he'll try and put a bit of dominance there, and we'll see how it unfolds.
I think there's a few drivers I'm really intrigued to see this year. One of whom is George, because he's got that extra year at Mercedes now, and he knows what it takes to win a race, and he knows what he can do in that car. Charles Leclerc as well, because he's coming back having been a championship contender and knowing what it takes and having the pressure of being a championship contender. And also Sergio Perez, because he's not going to want to take any crap from Red Bull for another year, is he?
No, I'm waiting to see whether he'll stay there after the end of next season.
I'm interested to see whether he lasts the season. With Daniel Ricciardo in the wings. That'd be great for Ricciardo to come back, but we'll see.
It would be as disappointed it would be for Perez. It would be brilliant for Daniel, but it'd be harsh to say he's past it. But from what I saw at McLaren,
I know. I want early Red Bull Ricciardo back. That the guy who took the fight to Seb Vettel.
To be fair, the way Max drove with Daniel, it's similar to how he drives with Lewis.
Yes, that is very true. He's a bit more, I don't know, he's a bit more cautious with Perez, I feel. Well, not cautious, but a bit more calm around Perez, because Perez hasn't really got the fight in it, but he knows Lewis and Ricciardo, they'll fight tooth and nail. They'll chuck that car in the braking zone where it shouldn't be in. And Verstappen knows that. But we'll certainly see. But yeah, the previous comment from Mike as well. The Ferrari team, they massively imploded. Early season, we're 3 races in. Verstappen's had 2 DNFs. Charles Leclerc's won 2 races. And everyone's thinking, this is it. This could be Ferrari's year. And then it all went wrong. Engine failures while leading the race.
Baku,
and Spain as well, I think. Carlos Sainz in Austria, his car very much caught fire. Charles Leclerc binning his own race from the lead in France, which was heartbreaking. And strategy blunders, like in Silverstone, which cost Charles Leclerc a better result, and although inadvertently gave Carlos Sainz his first win. And Monaco, where they just completely messed up and cost Charles a win there as well. So it's no surprise really that Binotto had his head on the chopping block. So it's been a disappointing year for the Scuderia. So hopefully 2023 will be better. But I just want to see them fighting regularly for wins. But I don't know. But it remains to be seen, especially if we see what Mercedes can do. Metal Chase, I wonder if we'll see team orders at Mercedes next season for the championship. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a team which is not, they've not been hesitant in giving team orders out in the past. Obviously with Lewis and Valtteri. What do you reckon?
I think they'll lead towards Lewis, but if it goes that Lewis is quiet at any point of the season and George seems to be, really holding the reins, I think they'll switch towards him. And I think Lewis will have to lump it.
Yeah, Mercedes are clever. They're going to back the one that's got the advantage. If Lewis is going through a bad patch and George is getting those, podiums in the top fives, they will switch to George, and vice versa. If George goes through a bad patch and Lewis is getting those results, then they'll go to him. It's a tricky one. I mean, how is Hamilton going to take? Neither of them are going to take team order as well. This is George, who is young and wants to become a world champion and wants to get those wins, and Lewis, who's a 7-time champion, who has spent most of his career, if not all of his career, as a number one driver. How's he going to feel if he's told to move aside and let George through for a win? It's a tricky one. No one wants that, but
no. I tend to find with those scenarios, it's always how it works out the races after. If there's a scenario where it can be given back the other way and it doesn't, that's when you have these situations arise.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike Baker, it's a shame I don't see Max Verstappen as a 2-time champion. The first one was gifted, the second overspend saga. Well, we're not really going to touch on, as I say, Abu Dhabi. That's been and gone. 2021, it is what it is.
I think it's quality of a driver. I know it's hard because you think Kimi should have had more for his abilities. Alonso should have more for his.
Yeah.
But if you go on abilities alone, then Max deserves the 2 he's got.
Yeah, Max.
Whether you believe the way he got them is just or whatever, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, Max didn't have, he was just driving what the team gave him for 2022. And 2021, he just did what any racer would do. Saw a pass and went for it. The team chose that to put him on those tyres. It wasn't him that made the dodgy call. He's a 2-time champion,
Yeah.
And he was driving, especially 2022, he was on another level. He was
I just
insane.
don't see any difference between him in that Red Bull last season to any different to one of the seasons Lewis's was dominant. It's no different, is it?
No, and you're always going to get that. If a driver is going through a sort of particular, era maybe of success, they're going to. We had it with Seb as well. Vettel was very dominant, sort of around 2011, 2012. That was Seb's playground. It's been Lewis's playground. It's been Schumacher's playground. It's been Hamilton's, and now it's Verstappen's. So hopefully next year Mercedes and Ferrari can come up with a car to challenge. Even to Ben Hobbs, welcome in as well. We've got a couple more points to go through, but tell you what, the chat has been incredible tonight. So many great points being raised. It's been awesome. One of the other things we were talking about was that the 2023 race calendar has been confirmed. They're not replacing China, which is a surprise because China cancelled the Grand Prix again this year due to their ongoing problems with COVID-19. So there's no race to replace it.
A video, I sent it to Martin. I don't know if he watched it or not, but it showed the flight paths of going to all the Grand Prix throughout the season.
Okay.
And my God, they cross themselves quite a few times.
You thought if you put the calendar sort of geographically, then it would be so much different, and it would be very strange, but so much more cost effective rather than going from here to down here to back up and just crisscrossing all of the time.
Yeah, you do. If it's like going back and forward a whole load of times. There's a couple where it'll go down and work a couple in the right direction, but yeah, there's quite a few where you're going back and forward so many times.
It's ridiculous. So there is, as a result of them not replacing China, there's a 28-day gap between Australia, 2nd of April, and Azerbaijan, 30th of April. It's like a mini season break.
That'll be when the improvements turn up.
Yeah, guarantee that the cars that race in Azerbaijan will look very different to the cars that raced in Australia. So it's the normal sort of looking calendar, really, apart from a couple of changes. We start in Bahrain, as is the norm, and then Saudi Arabia, Australia, Azerbaijan, Miami, Emilia-Romagna, Monaco, Spain, Canada, Austria, UK, which will be awesome. I'll always love a British Grand Prix. Hungary, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, Singapore, Japan, Qatar. We returned there after racing there in 2021. I think we had a race there because Alonso got a podium. USA, Mexico, Brazil. First race then in Las Vegas, which the jury seems to be very much still out on. I think it's going to be all glitz and glamour and not an actual decent race, but I could be proved wrong. I think it's all about the spectacle as opposed to the actual.
I just hope it's a better version of how Miami was this season.
Yeah, Miami's still around, and we've got 3 races in the US this year. And then the usual season finale at the always exciting and edgy your seat Abu Dhabi. F1, for me, F1 should always end in Brazil. I just think that's such an incredible race every year. But they end it in Abu Dhabi.
I remember the times I felt that was weird because it was always the second race on the calendar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it would just be early, didn't it? And then right to the end.
Melbourne and then onto there.
Onto Brazil. And then I think Japan's closed it before, I think, and other places. And
it was Japan that normally finished. But
yeah. So it's a long season, 23 races, despite that 28-day gap, going all over the place and back again. I'm intrigued. There's a couple of races because they're doing 6 sprint races this year, which we've talked about before, as opposed to the normal 3. I think 6 is about right, really. I wouldn't want to see any more than 6. I think that's pretty much sort of the limit before it becomes a bit dull. Take some excitement out.
I think it's fine. If they want to implement more, they need to change the rulings on how points are given and how it's implemented in the actual standings, because the names of each thing is just ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
The qualifying names and all this, that, and the other. It's just termed differently.
It is. I like a sprint race. I think you either like it or you don't really, and I do like it. But 3, it got forgotten about, and it wasn't really a big thing. 6, I think, is a decent amount to sort of mix things up, really. But I know a lot of F1 drivers aren't fans of it, and I can understand their point, But yeah, we'll see how that goes, and we're getting to the end of our little mini Grand Prix of pod talking here. So lastly, we've got some updated 2023 car release dates. There's only 2 teams yet to confirm, Alfa Romeo and Haas. Guarantee Haas will unveil it like the afternoon before pre-season testing starts or something.
I get the feeling Haas will be the digital render that they did last time, I believe.
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it? Because it still had that really awful Uralkali sponsorship that wasn't the Russian flag, obviously.
I think Williams done a similar thing as well.
Yeah, theirs was terrible digital render. So we actually start with Williams. February the 6th is the first car launch. That's online, so as you say, that's going to be a blatant digital copy. We're not actually going to see the car, which is a shame. There's also rumours about Gulf actually entering into an F1 partnership with Williams. So can you imagine a Gulf-coloured Williams? Oof.
Yeah, I think that was all mentioned in with a Porsche thing, but
Hmm.
we'll see which one of these things come out.
It's
The
gonna
thing
be
I
quite-
don't get with all that is, how can you have a Porsche Mercedes?
Yeah, Porsche badged Mercedes, an VW Group badged Mercedes. I don't know. It's a strange one.
They
Unless
seem
they
to
are.
think it's bad enough when Audi are in it that Porsche will get a Audi engine. You think they're all
Yeah.
Volkswagen Group, but they're apparently dead against each other.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'd like to see Golf come into the Williams thing, but maybe not Porsche. Stick with Mercedes engines for now. Just get the Golf livery on the car. Get a nice looking title sponsor livery like they had with the Martini years. That was
That
the
was good.
Martini or the Rothman. Sorry, that was awful. They had some nice title sponsors. We next go to AlphaTauri, then Aston Martin, then McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Alpine, and then Red Bull are currently the last ones. 16th of February, Alpine, are the last ones to currently.
There was a video come out again recently of it showed when Norris is, I think it's his first season, and there he is with his phone and he's doing a live chat, and he gives away the launch date before it's been launched by the team.
Oof. Ouch. Trying to keep it a secret. No, not when you got Lando. Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, it's like Zach said it was, and gave the date. And they're like, yeah.
Amazing. Well, everyone knows now. Oh, brilliant. So February the 6th, that's the next date of note currently to look forward to. Certainly if you're a Williams fan, I shall be looking forward to seeing a digital render of an F1 car that won't look anything like it when we turn up to pre-season testing. Of which there is only one test, I think, this year, isn't it? It's one pre-season test over a few days in Bahrain.
Was that the same as last season? I know they had the thing that wasn't called a test.
Oh yeah. The what was it? I can't even remember what they called it now, but it was
some more pathetic wording.
Daft terminology for a test that wasn't the test. Evening, David Bergen, welcome in. It's great to see you.
Just because there wasn't the media there.
Yeah, that's it. It's not a test. Are you sure? Are you running your cars? No. It's a test. But I think that is our little pit stop done for the week. So it's been great to be back. It's obviously been a good number of weeks since we've been here. David, €5 super sticker. Thank you very much, David. We do appreciate that. We appreciate everyone watching. We appreciate everyone commenting and getting involved. It's been absolutely fantastic to be back tonight. I've really enjoyed it. How about you, Neil?
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
Let's hope the chat can keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are
Keep
back next week now. So we're back at 7:15 again next week. We might have some more F1 news. Obviously, there's rumours and tidbits swirling around the world of Formula One, as there are more often than not is. So we shall see you next week for, who knows, so maybe more good F1 news. Thank you very much for watching. Again, Happy New Year. And we do appreciate you all joining us again, as it has been a little while. And we'll see you next week. Cheers.